So in Southern California, I worked with the YMCA. The YMCA is a community center positioned in the neighborhood to be available for youth and young adults to find athleticism and to have wholeness in their physical and spiritual beings, okay? And I loved the fact that they were, they're not necessarily a church, but they're not necessarily just a regular gym either. They're kind of almost an in-between where the YMCA is it's situated in the community for the community. And I love that. I was thinking, this is neat. And I actually didn't even know that there was a faith component. YMCA stands for Young Men's Christian Association. And so while I'm consulting with them, I'm recognizing that they have like a true business and sustainable model, but while being a nonprofit. And so I'm consulting with them. In the same time, we're making this move to Florida, and I continue consulting with them for another year after that. As I'm kind of learning the area and the landscape of Brevard County, and again how there's a lot of action sports that come from here. There's BMX and skate, and there's surfers, and in the community, I said, what if there was a way to kind of combine that and not necessarily recreate a YMCA that has, a gym where you lift weights and a pool or a basketball court, but what if there was a way to almost create a YMCA for action sports? Well, that's kind of where the hub was birthed. This idea of what if we could create a third place that the youth and young adults could come and they have a passion for action sports, whether it be skateboarding or scootering or BMX or whatever it might be, and they found a home or a hub where they could do that, but also at the same time develop leadership skills for life, develop character, find faith, find ways and values that make them come alive in the way that they're created to be. The hub was this idea of almost like a YMCA 2.0, of a way to kind of create this community-centric place in the community, for the community, and be able to give back right here. The vision of the hub was just conceptual. And so I almost kind of created this little presentation book and just began meeting with folks of the community and just said, hey, I have this dream to build this community center for wheels or for action sports. What do you think? And so the initial response was actually positive. There was a lot of people that said, yeah, we need something like that here. And so I was like, okay, let's walk this out. Let's see how this goes. And so I began meeting with individual after individual and business after business. And I just began saying, this is what I feel like we need in our community. And so we began building momentum. People started giving towards this idea. And while I'm doing that, I'm also looking at potential land, buildings, and projects in just different areas to rent and kind of looking around the county strategically in specific areas of like, well, what if this could be the hub? What if we rented this location? And that was a hard season because I would walk one out and I just, moment after moment where I thought doors were completely wide open. Like we would get into places where, or in conversation, I would get into conversations with buildings where people were like, how did you meet the owner of that building? Like, no, we've been trying to figure that out for years. Like, I can't believe you got a meeting with them. And I go, I don't know, but it just happened. And so we're going to see if this is it. And what seemed like an open door would then shut. And that happened at least 5 different times where it just seemed like an open door and then completely shut down. And I was just going, okay, am I hearing correctly? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing, God? Because I'm seeing these open doors, what I thought were open doors, but now they're shut. And I'm getting a little like winded and frustrated and like, am I missing something? And after a few kind of open doors and closed doors with potential places, it was almost like, okay, well, Since there isn't a clear open door for a location, maybe we go mobile for a while. Let's do that. So we purchased a trailer, we loaded it with ramps, we put crazy carts in there. We just kind of loaded it with a kind of a trailer, just call it a community outreach trailer. And we could really unload it anywhere we wanted. And so we would pop up at different places. One of the places in Satellite Beach that we would pop up is called Icon Windows and Doors. They allowed us to use their parking lot. And so we'd unload all of our ramps. We'd have crazy kart racing and timing. We'd have like a miniature skate park set up. And the community would just come together and just have fun. We'd grill burgers or grab pizza. And we would just kind of live life and enjoy one another and just talk about leadership stuff and go, this is the hub. This is why we exist. In fact, I was just talking to someone yesterday who saw me and said, hey, when's the next hub event? And was looking forward to next month. And I said, it was this 12-year-old kid. And he goes, when's the next hub event? And I go, well, it's in about 2 weeks. And I go, what's your favorite part about the events? He goes, the crazy carts. I go, yeah. I go, I love those too. Those are pretty fun. But it just shows me again, even though right now we're only open once a month sometimes, that the kids in the community are looking forward to it and they're asking about it. Now imagine it being open every day. Imagine that we had a place where maybe the youth or young adults can find family and can find belonging. Whereas, sure, you can go to a skate park, you can go to different places and find that, but I don't think you'll find what we have at the hub at a local skate park, because it's more than just skating. It is truly about community and family and being a part of something bigger than yourselves. Prayerfully, one day we'll have our own location and we'll be able to do this all the time. And so that's what it looked like over the past year. We were just kind of mobile and similar to like a food truck. We would just be able to take our trailer anywhere we wanted around the county and open it up, and then we're here for outreach. We're here to have fun. The hope is always to have a location, like just kind of like a restaurant owner. You don't want to live out of a food truck forever. You want your own location. You want your own restaurant. And that's the idea with the hub too. We wanted our own location, and we're just waiting for that opportunity. And we finally got that. We finally got our opportunity. About a year ago, I was in Downtown Eau Gallie in the city of Melbourne, circling a piece of property. This land was strategically placed in our county, and I mean that because it was ideal for the hub. Like, it was surrounded by businesses, an upcoming area. The Eau Gallie Arts District is nearby. You can walk to all the restaurants, and there's housing. It's situated in a neighborhood, but it's very strategically located. And so I was praying over it, just asking God, if I could have any place in the county, this would be it. And I was just like, if you want to give it to me, great. If you don't, that's okay. But I would love this for the hub. And so I circled it in prayer, and I even came back the next day. And that week I was actually meeting with the pastor of the church that owned the property. And so I grabbed coffee with him. We had just met. And I just remember sitting down with him over coffee, and I said, Billy, your church owns a piece of property in downtown Eau Gallie. And I go, I think it'd be perfect for the hub. I go, what do you think about giving it to us? And he said, that sounds awesome, Matt. He goes, but it's already under contract. There's an investor buying it for millions, and we are using that to help us kind of expand in our ministry and our church. And I said, okay, no problem. I just thought I'd ask. And we don't have millions anyway to purchase it. So him and I became friends over the next year and just began just kind of talking through hub stuff. He was very interested in helping the hub. And I would say over the next year, we became really good friends. knowing that that land was tied up already and it was seemingly a closed door, I just kind of moved on. And so we just focused on outreach, focused on community pop-ups, and just went that route. Well, a year passes by, and I'm talking to Billy, and he goes, hey, that land deal actually fell apart. The investor backed out. And so he goes, that actually puts us in a bad location, though, because our situation is we needed it to sell in order for us to kind of expand and to continue ministry efforts. And I was pretty bummed to hear that for him, because I knew that put him in a bad position. And I said, is there any way we can help? At the same time, I was talking to another friend, Chris, who leads a church in the beachside area in Satellite Beach. And he said, well, let me know if there's a way that we can help Billy. And I was letting him know everything that was going on. And so I facilitated an introduction by text. And 2 days later, they ended up connecting. So when Chris and Billy got together, Chris was asking questions. Is there a way that our church can help your church? And, maybe there's a way that we can even kind of assist you guys for a season. And the conversation actually led to, like, well, is the property for sale? Like, are you thinking about selling it? Well, I don't know if we would have the finances or how much you'd want and all of this. And before you knew it, the two leadership teams of both churches came together and said, well, what if there was a way for us to actually come together? And instead of buying it from us, what if we just gave it to you? And that was one of those moments where you're like, okay, maybe this is more than what we can see. Maybe God is doing something behind the scenes that we weren't even aware of. And so they began walking that out. So it was about 8:45 at night. One night, Jordan and I are watching TV, just kind of getting ready to call it a night. And I get a text from Chris, and he goes, hey, are you home? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I'm out front. And so he comes to my door, unexpected, right? I didn't know he was doing this. And he goes, hey, just finished up a conversation with the two churches. And I go, yeah? How'd it go? He goes, well, it's exciting, especially exciting for the hub. And I go, yeah? And he goes, yeah. Like, they decided to give us their property. And I think the hub's going to have a location now. I said, wow, that's incredible. And so at the time, I actually was thinking that it was us going to possibly rent this space right here temporarily. And this space is kind of like more of a coffee shop style small space. So it doesn't encapsulate everything that we would need as the hub, but it would be a starting place. A week later, I was celebrating with Billy and Chris everything that had happened. We were looking at this place and we were talking about the future of the hub. And I was thinking, maybe we'd rent this space. And Chris goes, hey, I had an idea this morning. Like, what if instead that land back there, he goes, what if we assign that to the hub? And I go, are you serious? He goes, yeah. He goes, God put that on my heart this morning. I go, do you know that I circled it a year ago in prayer? Like, I walked around it asking God for it. He goes, no way. I was like, yeah. In that moment, I get a little emotional every time I talk about it, because it was just like God met me. And he heard me, like he did actually hear that prayer. It was just a not yet. It wasn't a no, it was a not yet. And here we are, a year later, and he's answering this prayer, this ask that I had of him. That's why I am more excited now than I ever have been about this, because it's not something that I can craft up. It's not just a simple building that I'm going to rent. This is something that I truly have seen God's hand in, and am more excited about it than ever. This piece of land will actually be the future location of this community center, this YMCA 2.0, this place where we will find action sports every single day, and the community can find encouragement and hope and leadership development and faith. The first step towards all of this, I was talking to Chris as well, and we were moving. I had an office that I was renting across town, and he said, hey, there's this building right here. Why don't you just use this as your office? And in the meantime, it can actually dual as community space as well. And so for the last month and a half, we've been just doing a lot of construction, decking this place out, making it almost livable, so that the community can be a part of this with us. And so we'll be hosting gatherings here. It'll also dual as my office, but it's a way for us to kind of say, now's the time. We're moving towards this, and do you want to be a part of it? Do you want to be a part of this journey that God has us on? And that's why it's so exciting, because it truly is something that is beyond me. It's beyond my ability. It's beyond even my way of putting things together. I like to build things, but there's no way I can build something as beautiful as what's being built right now. And so I think it is going to take the community coming together. It's going to take all of us linking arms and going, we need this. It's our time. It's our time to give back to our community. Yeah. And we know that God's in it.